All right, so the first thing I did, right, always open up that wavetable and choose a couple oscillators. So my first oscillator here, I got a retro sweep saw, and on my second one, just a very basic shape, hardly even changed it. I messed around with the settings here a bit. I gave the warp percentage -9.4, and I panned this retro sweep saw to the left. And with the second oscillator, I panned it to the right, and I detuned it a bit. Then I went over here to my filters, chose MS2 for my first filter, and an SMP filter for my second. Drove up the resolution on the filters a bit. Then I moved on to these mod sources over here. You can see my settings, got a pretty subtle attack on the amp, very subtle decay, subtle sustain, and a long release because it's a very, ambient pad style kind of sound. And over here for my envelope, I got a pretty long attack, 8 seconds. About 5 seconds of decay. Here's my sustain percentage. Here's my release. My third envelope, I didn't even really touch. Check out my first LFO, very slow. Drove that amount all the way up, and I drove the amount all the way up for the second envelope as well, but it's just a little bit faster. Now, what gave this sound its very unique character was choosing classic over here under unison. Now, this is where a lot of the work happens when, designing your sound with the wavetable right here in the matrix. This is where you really give, your sound its character. So check out my settings here. This is how I got to where I got. So check it out. A lot of different settings here, but you can get an idea of how I went about creating the sound. Threw on a glue compressor, did some EQing. Then I threw on, just a plain old compressor so I could really crank it up. And then an echo effect. So then at the end of it is when I started mapping all the parameters over here to my macro controls. And then I can further map these macro controls to more macro controls. Macros on macros. All right, let's give it one more listen.